Hello and welcome to Season 10 of the Mundane to Magical Online Summit. My name is Louise Matson and I am truly blessed to be your host. I have been struggling with a cold this season, but trust that it doesn't detract from what you receive on each of the calls. So today is the third day of Season 10 and I'm delighted to share space again with another wonderful returning speaker, Raven Many Voices. Raven is a spiritual counsellor, intuitive, medium and teacher, and her ability to access the many traditions and spiritual realms led her to become a voice for spirit, able to connect with the ascended masters and angelic realms, as well as the ancestors and earth spirits. Now, Raven's topic for this season is what goes bump in the night, the other spirit guides no one wants to talk about. An apt title for this time of year as we all approach All Hallows Eve, and timely in conjunction with Nora's live call yesterday when she mentioned shadow guides. So on today's call, Raven will be sharing who our shadow spirit guides are and how we can discover them, in addition to another theme for this season, which is how to face our fear and how facing our fear can empower our lives. Because we're all traversing through some really challenging times which are throwing up our shadows to the surface for us to face. So this conversation is always, as always, divinely timed. Feel free to ask questions throughout the call using the chat and Q&A sections on Zoom, and I will endeavour to weave in as many of the questions as I can into the conversation. And so without further ado, let us begin. It's a real joy to welcome you back to the summit, Raven.
Yay! Hey, everybody. And thank you, Louise, for having me here. Always a pleasure and love the community. Really, I can feel everybody holding each other's hand, reaching out there with their light. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
So this is a topic for these times as we're approaching All Hallows Eve. And it's not something that I've, kind of encountered. Well, I say not, but some of the aspects that you're going to be talking about are not what I've encountered as spirit guides and things, but it is an interesting one, to know that there are shadow spirit guides and who they are. So please, the floor is yours. Share more.
Yay! Awesome. Well, we have all kinds of fun things to talk about. Shadow guides, which are those guides that are in our shadow, are help bring up those aspects of ourselves that we don't want to face, our envy, our jealousy, our fear, our all those different things, our ego. Those are different aspects that the shadow guide can hold up a mirror for us to see our blind spots, those parts of our character we don't want to see. So definitely we tend to demonize those types of guides. We make them bad or demons or devils. And so we get to talk about those today. Werewolves, vampires, demons, all that kind of fun stuff, because this is what we have done for a long time. But before I dive into the shadow spirit guides, I really wanted to talk about All Hallows Eve, Halloween, and then also this facing our fears. Because one of the things that we're seeing is that a lot of communities are trying to get rid of Halloween. And this is concerning, and I'll tell you why. First, what is Halloween? Because I know that there's people listening to this call that come from all around the world, and a lot of you Aussies and other places of the world are scratching your head going, Halloween, what's that? You probably have heard about it. Kids dressing up in costumes, their favorite cartoons, Spider-Man or witches or skeletons, and going door to door to beg for candy. So we have Americanized that. Let's just face it. What we know as Halloween is definitely started here in the US, but the origins of it go way further back. So every culture around the planet has a way to celebrate their ancestors or those that have passed on. And also that's one aspect of it. So when I think of celebrating our deceased loved ones, I'm talking Day of the Dead. I'm talking All Hallows Eve, because that's when the veils between the worlds became thin and we were able to talk to our loved ones that have passed to the other side. So this revering those that have passed before allowed us to deal with death. That's a big fear right there, is death and what is beyond this life. So those celebrations allowed us to talk to grandma and grandpa that have passed on, or to at least go to their grave or how we remember them, to set up an altar and to be able to definitely honor them, flowers, cook a meal that they loved, talk about their stories. It helped keep those family members alive. And these traditions are so strong and still present to this day. And the Day of the Dad, most of the mottos definitely is interwoven, especially here in the States, in like the southern states that are closer to Mexico and Central America, where that culture is so vibrant and strong, with the pageantry of the parades, the costumes. But it's not just that, it's gathering the family and having the feast. In Asian cultures, we just had Mid-Autumn Festival, which is the Moon Festival, and that is really strong. That's how they kind of celebrate it, in like connecting to family, having moon cakes, gathering around. Of course, they have Senior Day or Elder Day, where you honor your parents. And a lot of their holidays are family focused and gathering the family around, and not just that family, but honoring the traditions and family before that. So again, here's this concept of honoring family and those that have passed on. We don't really have that in the US. We have Thanksgiving and Christmas, and people may think about family members are there, but we really don't have a holiday that's really dedicated to remembering our ancestors. We have remembering the warriors that have died in war, Memorial Day, and we have the honor those that work all the time, Labor Day, and we have Valentine's Day and some of those, but we don't really. And this also carries over to Europe too, because Louise, I know you're over there in England, and we share a lot of holidays. Yeah. So how do we celebrate those that came before us? This is where Halloween kind of came in, because it is goofy, dressing up like costumes and begging for candy, but there is this sense of morality. We have to think of mortality, we have to think of death, and it helps us to laugh at it. Now, here's the other aspect of Halloween. It helps us to laugh at what we're afraid of. And that is so important, because Halloween does do that. Think of how many thousands and thousands of people go to a haunted house. They literally go, or watch a scary movie. Why do we do that? Why do we go to a place where people jump out of the cornfield and try to scare us? Or we watch a scary movie when we know we're going to get scared? Because it challenges us. It challenges us to face our fears. And Halloween's really good at that. It helps take all those things that we're upset with or afraid of, or we're having a hard time dealing with, and we make fun of it. We dress up in it, we parade around in it, and it gets it in our face, and we have to deal with it. So interesting movement here in the US, and I think other places too, is they're banning Halloween celebrations. They're getting rid of it in communities. They're like a big craft store like Hobby Lobby won't even carry Halloween decorations. They go right to fall and Thanksgiving. And again, harvest festivals. So they'll have harvest festivals where you have pumpkins and you celebrate the harvest. But again, no Halloween, no costumes. Even schools are not allowing kids to dress up in Halloween costumes anymore. And this is really sad. This is really hurting us, because one, costumes allow us to dress an alternate us. If we want to be a superhero, we can dress up like a superhero. If we want to dress up like a monster, we can dress up like a monster. And this is so important for us, for our psyche, because it allows us to safely explore another expression of ourselves, but not be permanently locked into that. And with a world so full of identity and trying to figure out if you're a he or a she or a them, holy cow, having a way for kids that haven't decided, and even adults, to be able to explore those concepts safely is so important. It's why Halloween went from a kid's holiday to more an adult holiday. In the last like 10, 20 years, it's the adults that are really rocking it. And you can kind of tell by some of the costumes and especially the costumes and some of the decorations and stuff out there. It's about the parties and stuff. Because again, it allows these adults to be able to explore these concepts in a safe way. So, and they can laugh at it. And maybe they love it so much it allows them to be more accepting of that. Because I can't tell you how many politicians complain about gay rights and gender biases and stuff like that, but they are the first ones to dress up in those costumes when they get the chance, which is kind of saying something there. So it allows them to explore this and maybe come to terms with it. So why am I bringing this up? Because I really want there to be some awareness of this. Is your community trying to get rid of Halloween? What does Halloween mean to you? And do you need to explore those concepts for yourself? Do you have a part of you that wants to dress up like a superhero because you want to be able to identify and embrace that? Is there other events you can do that? Oh, of course. I've been to a lot of them. Comic Cons, Ren fairs, things like that. Thank goodness there's some other outlets for those fun places to dress up. But again, Halloween is one of those ones that is worldly recognized and anybody can dress up. So let's not get rid of that holiday. Let's try to understand it. It's not worshiping the devil. It is not inciting people to do fiendish things. It is a way to express ourselves in that aspect. And then lastly, to face our fears. So with COVID, with things that happened in our world, changes and things like that, when you can dress up like a tornado and laugh at it, it helps those people that have been a victim of the hurricanes that blew through or tornado that destroyed their whole entire town. To be able to laugh at it allows you to face your fear. So again, it's like we need to have an outlet for this. So why is that? Where did the origins come from in Halloween? All Hallows Eve is actually based, a lot of it comes from Europe. And we would dress up the kids in monster costumes because the evil spirits that roamed around in All Hallows Eve would not attack their own. So kids would dress up in fiendish masks and be a monster so that the monsters wouldn't take them away or make them ill. They would go from door to door to visit people, and you would give them a treat so they wouldn't trick you. And that way you could tell it was a kid and not a monster. So there's a lot of origins around Halloween and how it shifted. And again, each culture, Europe and around the world, has this way of both honoring the ancestors, but also dealing with the unknown. And that's where a lot of these things that go bump in the night came from. We needed a way to explain things that we couldn't see, like illness. Where did the Black Plague came from? Now we know it was a virus that the fleas carried that were on the rats, and the rats lived with the humans, and it jumped on board us, and there you go. A bunch of people got boils and pusses and died, and holy cow, where did this come from? Now, it was easier for us to say the Grim Reaper, death, was basically walking around and touching people and making them fall ill. So hence our fear around death. So being able to dress up like the Grim Reaper with disco colors and a disco ball sight helps you to laugh at death. We know now with science, but the thing is, even though our science helps us to understand what the Black Plague was, Black Death, and we know it wasn't the Grim Reaper touching people. Sorry, Death, you just doing your job, because, the corpses have got to go somewhere. That we thank death for that job, but we still have it in our culture. And one of the big hot topics right now is AI. Now, why do I bring this up? Because we've always feared what we don't understand. And Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, knew this very well. At her time, when she wrote the story of Frankenstein, it was electricity. People were so afraid of electricity, of going from a candle that you lit up to something that was in the walls and a wire was terrifying. So she then made the story of the monster that was rectified by Dr. Frankenstein into this walking of a monstrosity that terrorized everybody, right? Our Mary Shelley story is now AI. And we've seen that. Terminator. I mean, we're all waiting for Skynet. Again, our our story writers, our movies are continuing these monsters. They're just changing and morphing into the current times. And even with COVID, people really felt like death was walking around again and just randomly touching people with COVID. So, and again, we saw a lot of fear that came up around this. So instead of us hiding or ignoring it, because a lot of fear was triggered in a lot of people, this is where facing your fears, where that shadow guide, and laughing at our craziness, like thinking injecting bleach in you was going to make you better. Oh God. we had some craziness around that, but again, now that we can look back at it and laugh and understand it from a more open point of view, we can change our fear into understanding. So I thank Halloween and I thank these holidays and traditions we've had, because they've really helped us. And even if you don't feel like you are been touched by that, it has touched our culture and our world. So you have, think about those weird little traditions you do. Do you throw salt over your shoulder if you spill the salt? Do you put your toilet paper over or under? We have all these really weird traditions and we don't always understand why we do it. And a lot of it is so ingrained in us. The thing is, with COVID, it really showed us how quickly we went back into fear mode, anxiety, and some of these superstitions very quickly. And that it gives us the chance and choice to change. But we have to be able to look at ourselves, accept that, oh yeah, I was totally coming from a place of fear, and then decide, I want to change. And my favorite phrase with this, because again, these traditions that we've been carrying along, like black cats are unlucky. You got a black dog in your lap. Oh no, unlucky. We have to decide, nope, I don't want to carry this tradition. My favorite phrase to help you with this is, tradition is peer pressure from dead people. Good one, huh? It's like, holy cow, it's so true. Tradition is peer pressure from dead people. So if you're having a hard time with holidays, you're having a hard time with stuff, is really, and even currently what's coming in, if there's peer pressure, no, you can't celebrate Halloween because it's the work of the devil, then where's that peer pressure coming from? Is it coming from dead people? And you can decide what's right for you. And it's interesting that this theme continues from getting a vaccine or not getting a vaccine. It was an individual's choice, what was right for that person. And this also goes for how you celebrate your holidays and how you express yourself, is what's right for the individual. It's like everybody's a little bit different. So we're no different in our fears too. Don't let somebody else shame you because of you wanting to dress up for Halloween, but also the fear. A lot of times, it's fear-based. People are pushing people. No, you can't believe this because that's, there's fear around that. You'll be connected to the devil. And it's like, no, that's still fear. You're shaming me with your fear over my fear. It's like, holy cow, what are you doing? So it really comes down to you choosing what you want to do and be that tradition if you want to repeat it. And that can be in the family too, especially with the holidays around the corner. Just because everybody celebrated this holiday this way doesn't mean you have to. So if not doing the traditional candy and dressing up for Halloween doesn't work for you, then you celebrate that holiday in the way that works best for you. And if that is remembering your ancestors by getting out grandma's favorite chocolate chip recipe, making cookies, and remembering what a wonderful soul she was, then that's perfect. So everybody does it the way that works for them. And that's right there. The biggest way that we can face the fear is realizing why it showed up in the first place. It's there to help you see something. There's something that you are not facing, not seeing clearly. So when we can step back, take a deep breath and get the bigger picture, where is this pressure coming from? Where is this fear coming from? Is it outside of me or inside me? Is it my belief or is it somebody else's belief? That's what helps us start to change fear. Yeah.
I think as well with everything, really, it's the intention behind it. So, if you're dressing up and you've chosen to dress up as a witch, or you've chosen to dress up as a vampire or something, it's what's your intention behind it. And you're not bringing the lower vibrational energy to something just because of the dress code, just because of the appearance of something. I mean, a fear is false evidence appearing real. So it's I think for me, it's kind of, what is your intention behind the doing of something? But I have noticed, as I said, when we jumped on the call a few minutes before, that I had noticed at a school in the UK, and my son is far too old to be at school anymore, but they've been discouraging children to dress up for Halloween. And so it kind of came into my awareness that this kind of big thing about, you know, dressing up, sort of appearing to be in something. But I have noticed a lot of satanic imagery is coming in more and more into a lot of things. I mean, 20 years ago, it was never really a thing. I never used to really see in the mainstream, but you see pop artists, you see everybody kind of jumping on the bandwagon in dressing up. I even saw, I think it was Britain's Got Talent, it was a devil singing. But again, that made it humorous for me. It wasn't, you know, and again, it's the intention behind it. You know, people were kind of laughing even though he was dressed in that way. But I do completely agree that it is about us allowing ourselves to bring forth to the surface, because I mean the external reality is going to do that for you anyway, but it's for us to allow our fears to be brought up to the surface, because Spirit always says awareness is the beginning and the end, and without awareness we can't do anything about it. But it's the end, it's the memory signature of us having released whatever it is that's come up for us. So it's a time to rejoice. So, you know, that awareness of something coming up for you, being triggered, being fearful, embrace that, face it, but embrace it, because you're in the process of clearing whatever it is that's affected you. So yeah, beautiful.
It's interesting because there's a lot of stickers, you know, no fear, you know, have no fear. And I think divine God gave us all these different parts, including fear, including jealousy and wrath and lust and gluttony and sloth. Oh, I like some of those a lot, you know, jammy day all day, you know. And the funny thing is we talk a lot about the virtues. So what are the virtues? Kindness, charity, you know, diligence, things like that. You know, we talk about the sins. Actually, I should reverse that. We talk about the sins. You know, don't be lustful, don't be greedy, don't be sloth, and, you know, no rest for you. You should be diligent and busy all the time. But we don't balance those, because that's one extreme of it. So the opposite of sloth, you know, laying around your jammies doing nothing for a whole entire weekend, which a lot of us really need because we're busy. We're so busy all the time. People are falling apart. That's what COVID was really huge. You know, there's a huge shift in the workforce because, oh my gosh, I mean, people can be more productive if they work from home. They get more breaks. Wow, go fig. And that has so incited such a change in the workforce. A lot of people are working from home or have modified schedules where they can work from home a few days and then go into the office. And it has made such a difference for companies. They've saved money. They can make their employees happy. This is a problem with our, I call it sin versus virtue. And I've been working with a few people on this, is realizing there has to be a balance. Yes, you have to have sloth. You have to have those lazy days, take care of yourself, like you being sick. This is your body's way of saying, you're doing too much. You need to slow down and take a break. So yeah. Bless you for still doing this telesummit, but I know you're resting with a nice hot cup of tea afterwards and taking care of your voice so you can still do what you need to do. That's why Spirit gave you the okay, but you have to really balance it right now. And that's it. We have diligence. Your diligence is the opposite of sloth. That's you. You've promised to do this for the listeners. You're getting it done. You're doing that. And the Spirit's keeping you on a leash, only letting you do so much, but it's balancing both your rest, your sloth, with your diligence. That's sin versus virtue. We need both. And in our culture, we tend to say no, no, no to the sin part. And even look at our movies and stuff. They're always based on wrath or sloth or lust or envy. envy, or pride, all those different things are always there, but we don't see the flip side, or we don't see it in balance, because one extreme, if you are so charitable, you're giving everything away, then how are you supposed to have any time or money for you? That's greed. So it's about being balanced in the middle. And our holidays and our shadow sides are no different. Fear is there because it's trying to show you these parts that you're not looking at. If you're envious of everybody else having a vacation all the time, your shadow guide's trying to show you that you're not allowing yourself to take a break and have a vacation too, that you're allowed to have that desire. So our shadow guides oftentimes, like I said, get demonized. You said a lot of Satan imagery is coming up. That's reflective of this part of us in our culture that pushes, you have to be perfect, you have to be charitable and give all your time away and do all this and do. We're not human doings, we're human beings. And because it's do all the time, we're falling apart. We're literally falling apart. And that voice, that shadow side, that little devil on your shoulder, hey, take a break, eat that candy bar, swear. It's getting louder. And that's why it's coming into our pop culture, because it wants us to bark back. It wants us to say no. And that we call it the devil on the shoulder for a reason. And it's not about, it's again, balance. Sometimes you need to have a part that says no. When everybody's asking you, do this, do that, the most loving thing you can say is no. And sometimes it has to be the devil, because we feel like the bad guy when we say no. So we have to embrace the devil and say, no, I don't have any time. And really, you do have time. You think you have time. Oh, I have the whole entire weekend free. Of course I can go help do this and do that. No, you don't. Because when's the last time you've taken care of yourself and you had a jammy day and you ate what you wanted to and watched what you wanted to, or just sat and meditated with your spirit guides because they miss you. Right. Yeah. So this devil on the shoulder, or that imagery, makes total sense. I think a lot of people are expected to present and be one way, but that voice inside of us is saying something else. And we're seeing that with people, and that part of us that wants to act out and have a tantrum. I think a lot of us are seeing that is that part that gets out of control and does act out. We're seeing that on every platform of society right now, and it's kind of disgusting and kind of scary, right? So again, balance. We can't be overly greedy, but we can't be overly charitable. We have to be in the balance, and that's what's really needed. These different guides help us with that. They help us face. We talked about the devil, Satan, and things like that. And if you ever say that and you feel kind of weird, because when we say, I'm going to say the word here, but I'm going to tell you how to get rid of the energy. So Lucifer. Woo! We actually had that show Lucifer, which was pretty amazing, and I liked the fact that this showed the struggle that Lucifer had on the TV show. Is that really he just wanted a break from his job and everything else, and to be able to love and experience life. Now, that word Lucifer is very much like Voldemort. When we say it, we draw certain energy to us. Satan is the same way, the devil, and that's why people get kind of weirded out when they hear those words. Anybody that's feeling heebie-jeebie and weird right now, the opposite is Archangel Michael. Feel how the energy completely shifted. So those two do not get along. Michael and Lucifer. So when you say Michael, it instantly draws Archangel Michael's energy to you and dissipates any of that negative energy. This is why Archangel Michael is the angel of protection. So before we start our journey of monsters, I want to just put that out there of Archangel Michael. So anytime you feel kind of weird with the energy, just say that name in your heart, and you'll find that any of the weird energy dissipates very quickly, because it makes a buffer of light around you. There we go. Perfect. So always know that your guides are always there. And if you do have any of these different beings come forward to you and you feel ooky, know that you can ask them to take a step back, and that you can call Michael, Mother Mary, dragons, whoever else you want to buffer and protect you. They are respectful. They only come to you when you're ready and when you need those assistance. And they're always very patient to give you time. time to be able to work with that. So having worked with Mr. L before, he was actually really delightful to work with. He is the devil's advocate. He helps you to see stuff in a whole different way. And happy to say, Michael was right there standing next to me, and those two glared at each other. But it was a really good conversation I had, which was really cool. So it helped give me perspective. And I think that's why I'm attracted to What Goes Bump in the Night, because I have always liked looking in the dark and to look at these different aspects. I realized when I was young, kind of an interesting story. My parents were nurses, and of course, that energy and going to hospitals all the time. I was around death a lot. So death never really scared me because being sensitive and being a seer, I could see souls, spirits, and death walking around. I actually saw death as another nurse that would help those people that needed to leave their body. He would grab their hands and help them through their door. So I became quite accustomed to it. But with all the energy, I needed to feel safe. So I would have a reoccurring nightmare of this kind of wolfy man that would stand outside my window with one red eye. Let me tell you, did those terrifying wake up, cold chill kind of things for multiple nights. It wasn't until later in life that I was babysitting my parents' home when they were on vacation as a young adult. And I was in my room, and sure enough, there he was at the window. But because I could face my fear, I asked him, "Who are you and why are you here?" He's like, "I'm your guardian." See, he protected me, because if I hadn't had him protecting and keeping wayward spirits, energies, things like that, that my parents would bring home from the hospital away, I would have shut down completely and not be able to do what I'm doing. And furthermore, I helped him. He was a werewolf, and he was disconnected from his tribe. So he knew that I went to a certain graveyard and would walk around. I'll get back to that in a moment. But he asked me to reconnect him. So I took a piece of the gravestone and buried it in a local park so he could be reconnected with his pack. Yeah, that was weird. I can't believe Spirit asked me to take a piece of gravestone, a broken gravestone, and bury it in the middle of a park. I'm sitting out there with the garden trowel. Nobody look at me. I'm doing something weird. But it was amazing to be able to know that I could help this spirit. And that's it. We always kind of come one way with our guides, our shadow guides included. And sometimes we can do things back for them. So I'm very grateful for that werewolf spirit that watched over me and protected me. That's the thing, we need to look at some of these different guides. So now that everybody's got Michael in their back pocket, let's go forward into the darkness. Any questions there, Louise?
No, not from me. I was just looking to see if there's any questions in the chat. Tara's put, the seer Almeen says the angels are just as responsible for keeping the game, in inverted commas, going as the dark side. I mean, from me, from that perspective, because my work with people is all about reclaiming your power fully, stepping into your power fully, and acknowledging that if we are part of the all that is, and source is the all that is, source is the all that is. So it's the light and the dark. So we're all the light and the dark, and it's, like you say, I'm shown it as kind of like standing in the middle of your football field and seeing all the way that side and seeing all the way that side, and being able to be aware that you're making a choice. You're making a choice each moment in where you act from, where you utilize your power from. And yes, we've all had many lives playing in the darkness, and we can access our power and use it in that direction, and we can access our power and use it in the good, but it's our choice, because we are divine creator beings. We are not dictated to by anybody, and we are not forced or influenced to behave in a certain way. Being in our power is acknowledging that we are the light and the dark in equal measures. It's balanced, and it's taking action from that center line, from that center point where we're making a conscious choice. So yeah, I agree. It's all a game. It's all a game.
Right.
And both sides are equally equally powerful in maintaining the game that we're playing in this physical experience. They're showing me now it's like one of those computer gaming things, like SimCity or something. Not that I've
Sims Life, but the real edition. I like it.
Yeah.
That's it. One of the big things we've got to remember is that our leading religions that we have, Christian, Catholic is in there too, Judaism and Hinduism are all based off of Zoroastrianism, which is polarized good and evil. Now, one of the biggest traditions besides Wicca is Norse belief system and your nature-based spiritual beliefs, shamanism, things like that. Why are these religions or ways of life becoming more and more popular, even Buddhism? Because it takes the polarizing out. It's not good versus evil. It's just life and living it. So again, middle path. It's doing that. And it's not saying that you can't be any of those beautiful religious paths. Jesus is awesome, right? And again, even Jesus had his bad days where he got mad into the temple and like flipped over the money tables and, what are you doing? Don't spend money. This is my God's house, my Father's house, right? So even he let his anger go. Wrath came out of Jesus. Oh, did I say that? Yes, I did. Because it shows us that we're fallible. We can have these different things, and sometimes we have to express on one side of the yard line or the other to help us understand ourselves. So as you're delving into the darkness and you see different aspects of yourself, if you see that wrath that came out of you, that you yelled and screamed at someone, you felt horrible, stop punishing yourself. We are divine expressions in all the different ways. It's learning from it, forgiving yourself, and moving forward. And again, that's with these spirit guides too. We need to forgive them of this persona we've given them. So let's go into some of the big basic ones. So we've talked about the devil there a little bit. We talked about death, and multiple different forms of death. You've got Archangel Azrael, the angel of death, and oh my gosh, talk about the James Dean of angels. All the angels lined up with God, and God's like, okay, we need someone to take care of time and the end of time. And all the angels went, no. Even Michael's like, no. I'll do the protection part. I don't want to do that. And Azrael walked forward and said, I'll do it. And it's huge because Azrael's the angel of death, but angel of transformation. Mm-hmm. We need endings. We need the end of COVID, which is happening this year into next year. It's done. We're at the end of it, which is amazing. We have ending of our youth into our adultness, or end of a project, or a year of sickness. You're asking for Azrael to come and help you transition out of this, right?
Absolutely.
So, exactly. So, working with Azrael is so liberating. Will he make you face your fear around death? Yep. Yes, he will, which is amazing. But it also helps to strengthen you, because then you don't have to. If you're ill and going through an illness, you make peace with it. And it's one of the biggest things when I work with people that have dementia, Alzheimer's, or they're in hospice and getting ready to go. The most amazing thing you can say to your loved one is, I'm going to be okay. It's okay if you go. Because oftentimes they hang on instead of leaving because they feel like they have to. By giving them permission to walk through that door with Azrael to the other side, their life explodes. We have so much more to do on the other side. And from what I've been shown, when I've helped people connect with their loved ones on the other side, there's huge halls of people playing poker and drinking and smoking and hanging out, waiting for the family members to come join. Other people are exploring. If they had their 9-to-5 work job, they're now exploring the countryside, having great, grand adventures. Some of them, like I said, hover and watch over their grandkids and their great-grandkids. And other ones hang out with the angels and help them. There's so many options. Or you move on. Yeah. Let's go on to the next life. There's options. As Gandalf said, it is just a doorway to a whole new adventure, right? So again, Azrael is a doorkeeper. Yes, he helps you that. And as a doorkeeper, he can help open the door to your loved ones during spooky season to help talk to them. So if you ask Azrael. Now, as I mentioned Azrael, is anybody feeling coolness around them as I say his name? Remember, names attract that energy, right? I could feel the room temperatures just drop by 10 degrees. I have to admit, Azrael is great when it's hot in the summer. Say his name a lot. It's like air conditioning. Yay. But what it is that you're drawing his energy near and it feels cool. And because of that reaction, we freak out. So that's something to remember when working with some of these shadow guides, is that we can have a very physical response. Spirits are the same way. Our loved ones, when they come near, they're cold. Their energy is cold. And it's just because of where they're at in the plane of existence. So they feel cold, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. That's just their energy. So once you start recognizing it and stop shutting down because you're afraid of it, you actually start to open up to it. So when you're cooking those cookies with grandma and all of a sudden the kitchen feels kind of cold, even though you have the oven blasting, you'll know that grandma's standing right next to you with the recipe and she's smacking around your hand because you're stirring it too much. Ooh, there you go. So Azrael is one aspect. Another one is Yama. He's the death that rides the big bull. There's Anubis, of course, Egyptian. There's Hell, in North. And then Baron Samedi, one of my favorites, and people know that I bring him through, which is the New Orleans Loa, or helper of divine, for the graveyards and the dead. So if you are sensitive to spirit, and with a lot of us really opening up, our year of quarantine we had really helped a lot of us sit and have vision quests within, really develop our spirit gifts even more. So a lot of people are seeing spirits and things, and it's the free gift I included is to help you recognize when you have a ghost. Oh no, have you seen a ghost, right? Having these spirits of death around you, like Azrael or Baron Samedi, can really help, because no one argues with death. So if you've got spirits and they're waking you up or knocking your pictures off, which I've totally had, they would turn all my pictures upside down when I'd walk downstairs in our old duplex, and I got tired of it. So I finally asked, would you guys please behave yourself? And I finally asked Azrael to come help. Let me tell you, all those spirits behaved, because the one being that can move them on is death. They won't argue with that. So that is a really good helper to have, because they can help control those spirits. My spirits, the spirits of the dead that would come and talk to me, got so pesty, if I ignored them, they would sleepwalk me. So they decided to sleepwalk me in February in snow down in my medicine wheel, and I sleep naked. I woke up freezing in the middle of my backyard and was quite ticked off. So having these guides and those protocols of where you meet and talk to them. So one of the things I recommend when working with spirits of the dead is use a candle. It's like a phone call. You light the candle to invite them to come talk with you. And when you're done, you can blow the candle out. Or if it's a tea light, it'll naturally burn out, so that they don't wake you up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to have a conversation. So, but again, spirit, your shadow spirit guide, because oftentimes we think of death as something to be afraid of and get away from. Here's an example of how an aspect of death can really help you. And Baron is amazing. He is, whereas Azrael is on the other side of the door helping people over, Baron is the keeper on this side. So he reminds you to have vices, smoke a big fatty, get stoned out of your gourd, swear like a sailor, and eat fun food, because tomorrow you're going to die. So he's the bucket list. He helps you face your fears of what's holding you back from life and going for it. So I love working with the Baron. I always have a big altar for him at this time of year, honoring the Day of the Dead, and also all those different spirits that help remind us living to live. So he's a good one to work with. How are we doing with questions there?
Yeah, somebody said that when Gabrielle said when her Irish friend had a hard time crossing over in his final days with tongue cancer, she invoked Archangel Azrael to take him, and sure enough he did, which is really beautiful actually. And I think one of the most special pieces of work that I've done with people is when they are crossing over, to be there with somebody when they're crossing over, and assisting them with the transition in terms of, not assisted suicide, but actually assisting them to leave the body and go to somewhere successfully and in an easy way for them. And it's also to call in their loved ones, to have them kind of waiting on the other side. And that's that's helpful if you're sort of being able to do this work, or you're starting to step into connecting with spirits, ghosts, whatever, or people who've already passed. When you are assisting somebody in those final moments, for them to know that their mother or their brother or their pet, their loved pet, is there waiting, and you have a guide like Azrael or whoever it may be. I mean, it may even be an animal, because I quite often have bees and swans who help me with what I call psychopomp work from a shamanic tradition. But it's such beautiful work, and it makes the whole process of crossing over. I don't have a fear of crossing over, passing over, because I don't see death as an internal thing, because I'm an internal being. It is just a transformation, and that's how I see those guides. They're transformation guides, they're guides of major change and shift. And like you say, we have those moments in our life all the time. So if we can make friends with them, if we can sit down and have a cup of tea with them, then at those moments when you really need them, then it's so much easier to call on them. But yeah, so beautiful that you were able to bring Azrael in with that moment. And June says, when she was doing shamanic training, a fellow student and friend had a connection to Baron Samadhi, and he came to her and they had a journeying adventure, enabled her to understand her shadow side better, which is beautiful.
Definitely. Yeah, very good questions there. Again, these guides can help you, and not just to them, they can help introduce you to other guides and stuff too, and help you really get connected. Again, it helps release your fear. We don't realize how much we keep the guides at bay. Of all the years, 25 plus years I've been doing this, help people get connected to their loved ones, to their spirit guides. It's really about us allowing these guides to come help us. We keep them at arm's length, and we have to remind ourselves. Michael always likes to say, if you have a headache, what works better, the aspirin in the bottle or the aspirin in you? Right? To get rid of that headache, you need to actually take the aspirin. And that's like with our guides. We can't just keep them outside of us. We got to bring them into our hearts. We have to feel their energy within us. That's like taking the aspirin. Then we get full help from them, and we can integrate. We can feel that strength of Michael and protection. We can feel that transition from Azrael, or we can feel the shape-shifting abilities of a werewolf. So let's talk about shapeshifters. So lots of different kinds of shapeshifters out there, werewolves or skinwalkers. Twilight was good for, we'll talk about vampires in a second, vampires and werewolves here. There are lots of different ways. Werewolves have been around forever. There is a legend actually in Ireland of a werewolf-like creature that was helpful. It protected the townsfolk. They would actually leave food and meat out for it to protect their home. The black dog, you got the black dog there. There's the black dog or spectral dog that would haunt graveyards, and it wasn't haunting it was protecting the graveyard so that vandals wouldn't come and steal from the dead. So that Sirius Black, of course, from Harry Potter was based on that, the spectral black dog that watched over Harry. So you got to give her credit. She did her research on her different monsters she put in there. So a lot of times we have misgivings about it. We've been taught, or the imagery is like gruesome, and even in Asian cultures, the most protective guides look like demons, because again, monsters and evil spirits won't attack their own. So you would put evil looking oni masks and things like that on your walls and stuff, because it would keep the evil at bay, or gargoyles on churches. So we have all these different creatures. So gargoyles are another one, a shape-shifting creature that could be stoned by daylight and active at night. It would protect us. So we've always used that grotesque or strange looking things for protective things. For shapeshifters, it really helps us to get in touch with our ability to shapeshift our lives. We're all shapeshifters. We're always changing. I mean, think about the face you wear at work versus the face you work at home. This is shapeshifting. We have different masks we wear. And in like native traditions, particularly out here where I live in the Pacific Northwest, they're known for their giant transforming cedar mass that a person could transform into a bird, or a bird, a raven, could transform into a person. So the ability to transform was important. And one of the things I found interesting in doing comparative mythology and storytelling from all around the world, especially when I followed the stories of Raven and all the different stories and folktale around it, is that shape-shifting was commonplace. Animals transformed into humans to be able to speak human, to teach, to share, and to work with the humans. And a lot of times that ended up in marriages because, the bear maiden fell in love with the warrior and hey, hubba hubba. And boy, before you know it, they're married and having mixed kids. So the thing is, that shape-shifting ability, that's why some of us are so connected to the animals. We carry that animal energy within us because it's in our bloodline. This also goes with the elves. We talked about this before when I've been on about elves and dragons, is that they fell in love with humans by shape-shifting and would actually marry in. So we carry that energy in us, which is amazing, through our bloodline. And this also happened with the creatures. Think of mermaids and sirens. They were monsters of the sea that would lure sailors to their death. But there's also tales of a lot of the sailors falling in love with the fish woman and getting it on. It's like, hello. Or they, for example, the silkies, they actually would leave their seal fur behind and walk on shore and marry the sailor and actually live by the sea. That's why some people are so drawn to the sea, because they're trying to go home. They're trying to reconnect with the energy they left in Mother Ocean. So it's interesting that we have these pulls within us, and it can come from our bloodline or past lives where we have been that creature. We've been in that situation, and sometimes we were monsterized. We were considered monsters because of not sharing resources or afraid of the abilities. I mean, who else would be jealous of someone that could transform into a wolf and run through the forest? So yeah, we would be afraid of that. Now, like humans, can there be ones that didn't do as nice things? Of course. Some dragons thought humans tasted like chicken and would roast them over an open pit. This did happen. So there was some bad guys, but we can't blame the whole entire human race for one person's bad actions. We need to think the same way with these monsters. So again, wearable skin walkers are amazing. They help us to learn how to shift our own selves, be able to take different forms or different situations with magic. Vampires, let's go into this one. This is a big one because we have demonized vampires so bad. We name people that can energetically suck negative energy from us as vampires or vampiric. So vampires have now been really bad. Now, I really love cartoons. I think of Hotel Transylvania did a good job of showing a vampire just trying to protect his daughter and be safe and have a safe sanctuary for the monsters. And again, the monsters had demonized the humans so bad they didn't realize the world had changed. I love that movie. It's super cute, and just showing how, again, traditions from dead people can keep us from really making a shift in our consciousness. Vampires are no different. So vampire are old spirits, very old. And sometimes we don't always understand exchange. So for these really old, wise spirits, there was an exchange of energy. So you would actually give some of your energy, which we are fountains. It's literally pumping out of us at all times. And that's the thing. We're always giving energy to our environment and places. This is why you can be a ray of sunshine, go into your work and change everybody in the office just from your smile on your face, or vice versa. Someone can go in with a bad day and now everybody's in a bad mood. We affect our environments. We're always giving out energy. With vampire, it's a contract. You are making an exchange. You're giving some of your energy to this old spirit, and in return, this old spirit would share its wisdom with you. Jinn are another one, genies. They are old spirits, creation spirits, where we would sit and listen to them. Sometimes we would give them something, a gold or things like that, in exchange for knowledge. So that's not a bad thing. But again, because of our fear around it, and there's other stories, and oftentimes the stories would blend. So a ghoul or something that would raise from the dead and bring plague or death, we combine with vampire, and now we have a whole new thing. So again, stories, we like to tell stories and morph them together. Remember your source. And if you are curious, do research, as I did on vampires. As I learned more, got curious, and then with help with Archangel Michael, I asked the vampire to come forward so I can learn. And yeah, I gave some energy and it was beautiful. He didn't suck me dry, and I don't have any holes in my neck, so I guess I'm good. But the exchange with this beautiful vampire woman was amazing. She was ancient and old, and she answered my questions, which was amazing. So a lot of times these spirits, they're wise. They've been on the planet for a long time, but they're shy because they have been monsterized. They have been chased and persecuted by humans. Dragons are no different. And I know this a lot from working with the dragons, is that we have to heal some of these relationships with them. Yeah. Other ones are harpies. Harpies were the messengers of Isis. So here's a good example of a story or a figure that was made a monster because they didn't want people remembering the positive. So harpies were beautiful women with rainbow feathers that were the messengers of Isis. Now, when the Romans came in and they didn't want people focusing on Egyptian culture or the goodness of it, they made them into monstrous women that would attack men. Because one of the other things that harpies did is they fought for women's rights. Now, I can't think of a better mascot right now for some of the women that are really fighting for women's rights, especially here in the US. You know what states I'm talking about. So yeah, all you fighters for women's rights in those states, call the harpies to come help you, because again, we need to have that. And some of these other wonderful gods and goddesses, I think of Shiva. Shiva is a wonderful god that can be both masculine and feminine, androgynous. And for them that are really having a hard time identifying or don't want to identify, it's some of those different gods, goddesses, or different creatures that could be both are so helpful for them navigating their own identity right now. So again, what we think of as monsters actually become great allies for us in helping to navigate through this. What's some other monsters we can think of? We've got, of course, Kraken and Loch Ness and things like that. We are trying to explain our environment. What was in the deep water? Why did the ship disappear in the storm? Well, obviously it wasn't the storm. It was a giant octopus that came out. Now, is there Kraken? Oh, heck yeah. We definitely have giant squids and octopus that can do some strange things. We have strange phenomena, weather. Thunderbird is a big one out here, also known as a rock, or different huge, or Joaquin in the Lakota language, and huge thunderstorms that would come in and can be quite devastating when they did. But it also, we realized that the lightning storm brings a lot of high vibrational energy to the planet very quickly. So we needed those storms because that meant the rains were coming that would replenish the grasslands and grow the green grass for the buffalo to eat. Thinking the Lakota legend of the thunderbirds that came in, are different storm spirits. So what monsters can you think of?
I mean, it's not a monster, but I connected with whilst doing some shamanic work, I connected with a goddess, and I can't pronounce her name, but it's a Mayan or Aztec, but it is a creation goddess. And again, it's that holding that dualism, but she didn't see things in good, bad, right, wrong, because like you say, we need those things that we perceive as destructive, we perceive as bad. We've given the label bad, but nature needs it for creation to take place again. So, sometimes the forest does need a fire, one for certain seeds to be able to sprout, but also to clear the dead trees and to bring forth new life. And so she was very clear, I'm the goddess of creation, but I'm also the goddess of destruction. And so also Sekhmet comes into mind, and other kind of figures like that. So not monsters, but Kali, but a lot of these things that we've focused so much on and attributed stories so much to the kind of what we would see as the bad aspect, that we miss stepping back into the bigger picture and kind of being able to get that balanced view, that they're just encompassing everything, encompasses everything, and so they're encompassing the holistic aspect of life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you think of Kali Ma, Kali is Shakti is to Parvati. So Parvati and Kali are the same. It's just two aspects of the same. One of my favorite stories of Shiva is that there was a monster that was killing all the gods, and no one could figure out how in the heck to get rid of this monster. And so Shiva went to Parvati and said, "I'm sorry, sweetie, but we need your dark side." And she fell asleep, and Kali Ma came out. Kali Ma did such a good job, not only killing the king of the monsters, but the whole army of monsters, started going through and killing all the gods too. She really liked destruction. And so, you know how Shiva got her to go back to sleep? Kissed her. "I love you so much, beloved, but it is time that you rest again," and held her in his arms until she fell back asleep. Makes me want to cry every time. And that's it. And she fell back asleep, and the world was saved. So here is a force of love and light, Parvati, the goddess of the home and life and sustainability and all that, who is also the mother of destruction and can take out the gods themselves. So you've got to love that. There's that duality, yes, but there's a balance in it. Morgan and Morgana Le Fay, and I think of some of the different Celtic goddesses. We only really attribute them to death, but really they were keepers of the battlefield, but they were sovereignty. They were a blessing to the king because they could foretell. They were fortune telling. They foretell the turn of events. So we needed that. And again, we think of Hades and hell and Hecate and those different goddesses and gods we think of death or the underworld. You're right. And Ceranos is another one. He's the horned god, yes, where we really get that image of Satan from the horned beast, the devil. Ceranos is such an old spirit that even archaeologists have a hard time tracing him. And having worked with him personally, he is the horned man of the aspect of father nature. We always think of mother nature, but we don't always think of father nature. So he's father nature. And again, he has the aspect of new life, growth, but death in the fall time. So right now is where he walks and he starts as the skeleton deer and starts touching things to make the leaves fall and the bodies decay. And we need that because, again, if we didn't have death, decay, mushrooms, things like that to break down stuff, we would be surrounded in dead bodies. It'd be gross. So we need that stuff to nourish new life, right? So it's all cycle of life. So yeah, this whole polarity of good and evil and labeling things as good and evil is really more current and more human, whereas nature doesn't see that. It knows it needs both aspects, and we need it too. We need to be able to be destructive and get rid of stuff. I mean, think about your home when you're getting rid of stuff. You're throwing stuff in the trash and donating it and going crazy because it's time to let it go. And a lot of us have a hard time doing that. So getting into that, as Michael says to me when I go into one of my cleaning fits, be ruthless. I love it when he says that, because that usually means the whole entire carload I take down to Goodwill. But the joy of having that empty space is amazing. So having a shadow guide or something that is destructive, if you need Kali Ma to stand behind you with her club and her skulls around her waist to be like, get rid of clutter, bring it. Bring it on, because getting you through that garage and finally getting everything cleaned out is liberating. It's really, really good. So you're right. God's goddesses. Let's look at animals. We demonified certain animals too. Flies, rats, things like that. But again, in the Asian culture, rat was the first one for being so clever to get across the finish line for the zodiac, the Chinese zodiac, or the zodiac of animals, right? So although in Black Plague, and a lot of our, again, feelings around rats come from the Black Plague, people, we're still curing this tradition from dead people. It's like, no, we don't have to be afraid of rats. They're beautiful creatures. They have their place. Yeah, when they're chewing through your walls and on your wires, it kind of sucks. But yes, they have their place and they're amazing, but we're still keeping an opinion of them. And again, if you add a bushy tail onto that little rat tail, what do you have? You have a squirrel. We have no problems loving squirrels. So you got fur on the tail. We love you. You're cute, but if you have no fur on your tail, then you're a rat. We don't love you. It's like, wait a second. So you're right. We really have to kind of stop and ask, why do I have this opinion about this animal, this goddess, this creature, this guide? Because it's our own judgment and fear that's holding us back, because rat is amazing. And when you do have rats, which I do in my garden, and so I've made a deal. You can go dig over there by the bird feeder, but you leave my house alone. And it works. Peppermint helps to reinforce that. Just saying, anybody that has mice problems. But again, it's talking to these different creatures. So let's talk about when you're afraid. So if you're afraid of rats or afraid of snakes, or my neighbor who is afraid of frogs, I kid you not, they're absolutely afraid of frogs, which is hilarious because guess what I have all over my house? Frogs. I'm like, oh my God. I love frogs. I have little pools of water. I rescue tadpoles from ditches when they're drying out, and I've given them a home. So in the spring, my yard is just a choir of frogs, which freaks her out. Now, my question for her, if she was open to ask for help, why is she afraid of frogs? What is it about frogs? And furthermore, look up the medicine of frogs. Frog is about renewal. It's about healing yourself. It's about going deep into those emotions. And having known her enough, she does not like to face her emotions. She does not want to plunge into the deep end. No wonder why she's afraid of frog. So anybody that's out there, that your monster is a spider or a snake or a scorpion, and that's a lot of our monsters out there. They're combinations. I think of the chimera. It's a goat and it's a lion with a scorpion and a snake tail. I mean, talk about a hodgepodge altogether, because they took all these things that were so frightening and put it in one creature. So sometimes we have to do something like that, and we have to break it down into individual parts. So if you have a reoccurring nightmare, or your shadow guide presents itself in a way with tentacles and things like that, it's like, okay, it looks tentacles, kind of reminds me of an octopus. Oh, maybe I should look up octopus medicine. Maybe I should look into this and see why I'm afraid of it. Are you afraid of multitasking? Are you afraid of the depths underneath? Are you afraid of changing your color? Think of the attributes of an octopus or that creature that came forward. And the same with the gods and goddesses when they come forward. It's like, what shape do they take? Okay, that kind of reminds me of Kali. Okay, so let me read up on Kali to find out more about it. So definitely knowledge is power here. But again, take it with a grain of salt, because some of our stories that we have, like Louise just mentioned, are still all based in fear. It's still only one side of the story. So sometimes getting outside of it and reading another perspective, maybe from that culture or a different culture, can give you a different perspective. You go to India and read the stories like I have about Shiva and Kali and stuff. Like I said, my heart just melts every time I think about Shiva holding her going, I love you. It's time to go back to sleep. It's like, that's what I feel like when my horns and fangs come out. That's like, I think of my guides just holding me going, it's okay. Calm down.
I think as well, I mean, something's just coming through, that it's always the victor that writes the history books. It's always the conqueror, whatever, that creates the traditions. And so it is important for us to, if we are seeing something in a certain light, to delve into that history, to delve into, to gain a wider, greater awareness of something, because it may not be your truth about that certain thing. It may just be something that you have inherited because the Romans beat the Druids, or the native peoples of my land, or the patriarchy overrode the divine feminine, and so they've demonized a lot of feminine attributes, and a lot of feminine deities, or a lot of feminine spirit guide medicine, because that's where they were coming from. And so it's kind of unpicking, unraveling, but again, that is what, when fears trigger, when fears come up to the surface, it's not kind of, oh no, shutting down, can't look at that, need to distract myself onto something else. It's going, oh, that's interesting, okay, I'm going to unwrap this present that I've just been given by the universe. I'm going to take the ribbons off and unpack it, because there's so much depth and richness within that for you, and for you to grow within yourself and gain that deeper awareness of yourself.
We got to remember our fear response, because what you're talking about exactly is the fear response. We either run from it, we fight it, or we freeze. And that's the thing. It's not just fight or flight. They've added a third one, freeze. And we do that. So we either fight it, we make it a monster and we want to fight it. Fight the devil, get rid of the devil. That's the fight response. The run away from it. Oh my God, this is too scary. I can't handle it. We get anxiety and we run away. Or freeze it, we ignore it. So we ignore it. We're like, oh, nope, there's no monster standing here. There's not a woolly mammoth in the middle of my room. I'm going to ignore it. But we all know ignoring stuff just makes it worse and worse and worse. And again, this is where a lot of our root of anxiety coming from. I get this a lot from clients that say that their boyfriend left them because another woman put a curse on him or her or them, or they're possessed by a demon. And let me tell you, when I start asking them some questions and really look into it and feel it, because I can feel the energy if it is a source of darkness is around them, and I 98% of the time don't feel squat. The reason why is I'm like, so tell me about the relationship. Well, he cheated on me several times and he did this and he was never home and he took all my money, but I love him so much. And, obviously she put a curse on him and he should be back by me. And I'm like, have you ever realized that the universe was allowing him to leave you so that you could have better options? and that's it. We want to make, again, the fight aspect is we want to make it external from us. We don't want to take responsibility in the fact that we need better boundaries. We need to be able to say no. We need to recognize when this isn't a good thing for us and we need to walk away. Even when everybody else says, oh, they're so good for you, you should be with them forever. But if all of our red flags are going off and secretly behind doors, this partner of ours is yelling, screaming at us and torturing us or getting physically violent with us, then that is us needing to stand in our power and say no. So of course we want to blame it on a monster, on something external, but really it's us. So again, when you work with shadow guides, get ready for a big old spoon of truth, because oftentimes what we've seen outside of us, nobody likes me, no one will hire me, no one will stay with me. The shadow guide holds up that mirror and says, you need to look at yourself and take responsibility. And that's how we change, because the secret to changing yourself isn't just believing enough and you do it. It's you have to look at yourself and accept, I'm the one that needs to change. I'm doing this behavior. I need to take responsibility and I choose to change it. Then the change happens. And that's something that's missing from a lot of us in a lot of different programs. Just believe in it, it's going to happen. You have to take responsibility for those parts that's cultivating that experience over and over and over again. So if you don't have boundaries and you keep letting everybody come in and take rent in your heart and torture you with bad language, then that's on you. You need to make a boundary to change it. And that's where having those guides like Medusa to come in and help you see everybody, turn them to stone so that you can be like, oh, that wasn't a good person for me. That's where that guide can help you be strong. Medusa is a good example, as you mentioned, the patriarchy. Medusa was the goddess of wisdom. She was blessed and had a beautiful following and had a temple kind of near Turkey. Well, when the Romans came through, because she had way too much power and they wanted the male gods worship, not the female, they made her into the monster we know today. And furthermore, destroyed her temple and built the goddess of wisdom, Sophia, on top of her temple. So if you go there and if you look at pictures, the temple of Sophia, you'll see these beautiful columns with snakes on the bottom. That's the old columns from Medusa's temple. It's like mind blown. So when I had a client of mine who was going through a divorce and needed to really stand in her power, I said, call Medusa. And she got a snake bracelet so that every time she went into the divorce proceedings, she could stand in her power. She even added a bracelet that said super bitch. And it worked because she could never stand up for herself. So Medusa froze them all so that she could stand in her power and finally say, no, I deserve to be taken care of. And it helped her get through it. So again, these beautiful beings of wisdom, as we get to know them, we start to really learn their story from their perspective and realize they've gotten a bad rap. And like a lot of them, like Azrael, they take on the mantle of being the bad guy because sometimes we need that in the story. A good story has a bad guy. Voldemort, Harry Potter, you know, it's like, but at the end, when Voldemort is that little piece that's like dying inside of Harry, how many of you saw that and felt bad? Because that little dark part just was trying to survive and trying to live and had to die away. So again, these bad guys will take that role for us until we can get to the point where we can look at them in love, in light, and go, you are a part of divine. You are a part of me. I get that now. I can accept the darkness. These parts of myself I deem as darkness aren't really dark. They're just another spectrum. And I accept it and love it. I love the fact that I got greedy and had to keep all my time to me, or I played sloth and stayed in my jammies all day. Or I got wrathful, my horns and fangs came out and I yelled at everybody because I just needed to say no. We can start to love the monster within us. And that's the real power here of working with these guides, is they help us to see those aspects. They help us face our fears and transform them into standing in our power, to do it with balance.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really lovely. I'm just really aware of the time. We've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. I know before we came on the show, you mentioned about a little activation. So I thought if we did that and then we could call the session, but it's been absolutely amazing. And so
I would love to.
The topic has just been so full, but I do, it really is about that. And one of the lovely things that Spirit shares with me in my work is it's divine responsibility, which means it's responsibility without judgment, without criticism, because there is that overlying kind of like topping, sprinkling of divine love, unconditional love on there. So that's what enables us to kind of really go deep, is allowing us to step into that divine responsibility. It's not the 3D ego responsibility that kind of weighs you down. It's just being able to kind of really go in and shine the light everywhere within yourself and love and acknowledge all aspects of yourself, because we are. If we're part of the all that is, we've got everything within us. So, if you're gonna, it's like saying, I don't love my right thumb.
I know, right? It's crazy.
Anyway, so let's do the activations, because that would be really wonderful, I think, for people to be able to connect in with a shadow guide. And then we will lovingly let this call end.
Sounds wonderful. Yay. Thank you, Louise. Oh, fun. So everybody take a nice deep breath. If you're in a place where you can close your eyes and be safe, join us now by taking some breaths and bring up Mother Earth. So let's get nice and grounded, seeing that spring green color of fresh grass coming up through your toes, your legs, all the way through your waist, up your backbone to your heart. And from your heart, feel that green vibration of renewal, of health, of groundedness and acceptance flow into every cell, every space between every cell, to your whole being is that wonderful vibration from Mama Earth. And in this moment, you are loved, accepted, and grounded. Perfect. So feel that space within your heart, that center space of your being, of the heavens above and the earth below, your mind, your soul, your emotions, your physical body, that meeting place of you and spirit. And I'd like you to imagine sitting by a beautiful tree. You can see Mother Earth smiling at you. She's helping work on your physical body, bringing health, awareness, and helping ground you to her beautiful planet. That tree that you're snuggling up to is that tree of life. Branches stretch all the way up into the heavens, and the roots go deep, connecting you to your ancestors and the spiral of all your many lives. This tree of life is you. And around this tree is that plane where we meet all our beautiful guides, our spirit helpers, our animals, our divine beings. Instead of bright sunshine, I want you to see that sun passing over the sky until the moon rises and we're standing at night, twilight. The bright full moon illuminating the space, the stars glistening like diamonds. As you walk from your tree and ask that shadow guide to come forward, please reveal to me the shadow spirit guide that's here to guide me. Please reveal to me my shadow spirit guide. Please reveal to me my shadow spirit guide. From that inky blackness of the surrounding forest and field, see that energy coming towards you. Know that your guides, Archangel Michael, everybody's right here at your back. Soft glow coming from behind you from Michael. Know that you're loved and protected. Let this beautiful shadow spirit guide approach you. Let that color, the inkiness take form. If it's just a color, breathe in that color. Connect to it, understand it. If it takes a form, be patient with it. It's cautious. It's a little scared of you. You don't want to work with it very often. So let this beautiful energy take shape. What's it look like? Is it a god, a goddess, an animal, a creature? Allow it to introduce itself to you. What name does it have? What details? Is it a werewolf with a monocle and a top hat? Is it an octopus changing color like a rainbow? Maybe the goddess Hecate, the triple goddess, maiden, mother, and crone stand in front of you. What would this shadow spirit guide like to help you with today? Let them hold up that mirror. What aspect or blind spot are you not seeing within yourself? Maybe they whisper a word: anxiety, fear, control, worry. Maybe they're showing you an aspect of your life: work, marriage, relationship, kids. Take a deep breath and just look. Try not to judge yourself. Just allow yourself to look in that mirror and see that aspect that they're lovingly trying to show you to help you. As you face yourself, this pattern, this behavior, this activity, this relationship that you're doing, ask them how they can help you. They're here to help you be aware, to bring clarity, to be strong, to say no, to say yes. Maybe you're afraid to ask somebody out on a date or connect to them as a friend, because you're afraid to be hurt again from the past. Your fear is holding you back. As you feel their love and awareness flow into you, notice how the image changes. They're showing you how you can be strong. You deserve to have good people in your life. You deserve to allow those around you to love you and help you. That not everything is in your control. And that it's okay that you don't get everything done. And most importantly, that you can love who you see in the mirror. See how this shadow spirit guide becomes a being of immense light. They show you how to find the light in the darkness. With that, reach out to this beautiful spirit guide and give them a hug. They've given you a great gift today. Know that anytime you need to be able to look at this aspect of yourself, to see behind you what you don't want to see, they're here to help you. Oftentimes making you laugh at yourself, how you're being silly, you're being too strict, controlling, or stubborn. They're here to challenge you, and that's a good thing. As you welcome them back to the tree, see them now standing with your other spirit guides. Michael, tipping his head, recognizing that beautiful shadow spirit guide that now joins your team. And from behind the shadow spirit guide, see your own fear standing there, holding their hand, knowing that fear has someone they can talk to help you instead of holding you back. Thank fear for joining in. Fear always meant to just question, is it okay? Do you really want to walk this next step? Know that fear now doesn't have to be an enemy, but someone that you can talk to. Someone that's here to help. As you come back to yourself, feeling all that love and energy integrating into you at a physical level, at an emotional level, at a spiritual level, and a mental level. Feel all that love and guidance anchoring into you as you confidently walk forward on your path, thanking Mother Earth, thanking this beautiful tree of you, knowing that it's just one touch away. By touching your heart, you can come back to this place at any time. Wiggling your fingers and toes, and when you're ready, opening your eyes. Yay!
That was great.
That was a good one. They were very, very happy. And I liked how fear showed up too. My meditations are always organic. I'm always right there witnessing it. So it was interesting to look at everybody's shadow guides and see the little fear that almost looked like little children, like peeking out and going, hi. So know that you can go back as this is recording, go back and do this meditation again, or I challenge you to go to that space within your heart and start making this connection. As you start to work with these different aspects of yourself, you begin to realize that your fear and your shadow guide and your mind and your heart, your emotions, even your inner child, we have with our spirit guides outside of us, but we also have our internal guides within us. Our mind, our heart, our emotions, and our physical body are the four big ones, but there's other aspects of ourself. And when we start to see them as spirit guides within us, our world changes. Then we realize our spirit guides outside of us, like Archangel Michael, can actually be in there with your mind and poke it and help you to be sure that you're staying on track and not getting distracted. Squirrel! Yeah, I'm totally guilty of that. Michael's awesome. But same with the shadow spirit guide. Shadow spirit guide can come in and show your mind, hey, you're doing this behavior. And then the mind can go, oh, or even mediate between you and fear. So the shadow spirit guide can be like, hey, fear is really concerned about this. Are you guys even aware about this? And the mind and the heart can go, Oh, yeah, no, we got to do something about that. So, again, this is where our spirit guides can really help us a lot. I call it the inner counsel and been working with a lot of people a long time on this. And it's amazing when we start kind of connecting our outside world to our inside world. But that's a lot of what our practices are about, spiritual practice. It's about learning how to navigate that internal world. So however you do that, know that this is another tool for you to be able to meet with your shadow spirit guide. And keep an eye on the shadow spirit guides. They oftentimes will change form on you. So they will reflect the fear or maybe an aspect that maybe you need to be more connected to. So it might be a werewolf because you need to be more shapeshifty. Then maybe it does become an octopus because you got to learn how to multitask better. So, or you are multitasking too much and you need to forgive yourself. Yeah, a little bit of me came in there because I'm like, it's okay if I don't get everything done. So there you go. There's mine in there. So it's all good. We share a lot of these. Again, we're human beings, not human doings. All right. So these shadow guides have a sense of humor. They can call you out on your shit and definitely help you. So if you get sassy, if they get fun, know it is because you need the aspect. Sometimes we need our guides to argue with. So if you get in a fight with fear or your shadow guide, that's okay too. You're not going to hurt their feelings. Oftentimes we need to. I can't tell you how many fights I've gotten into with Mother Mary. Oh, we've gone round and round. She had boxing gloves on one time and said, "Bring it on, my dear. I'll even let you have the first shot." Yeah, that ended in a lot of tears, and I felt much better because, oh my goodness, I would never punch Mother Mary. But again, this is where our guides can help us. So if anybody has that, you have a little bit of fight or fear with your shadow guide or fear, no, that is okay. That's totally normal. No judgment there, and it's actually healthy. We need to actually work through stuff. And again, remember, fight, flight, or freeze. You'll oftentimes will experience all three of those when working with our guides, and especially with our shadow spirit guides and fear. They know that and they'll help you through that. So patience with that. And if you need help with it, I'm here. This is what I love to do. I love helping people get connected to all the things, even the things that go bump in the night.
Absolutely. That was amazing. There's so much love in the chat for you. They really loved that meditation. Somebody's asked if I will separate it as a recording. I will try. It's certainly something that I can do. So yeah, it might be that I separate it as an audio only, but what I'll do if I will do it. But it's just a case of when, because I do have to rest in between these live calls at the moment because of my cold. But I will put it under Raven's free gift tab on the free gifts page as an extra free gift. Somebody's asking if you have a special offer. Unfortunately, not this season because Raven's so busy. But where can they find you if they wanted to check out your work, Raven?
Oh, definitely. The free gift I have, check it out, is again doing this meditation again, also how to work with ghosts. So Have I Seen a Ghost is a great little freebie I offered on there. So definitely check that out. It'll help you navigate the spirit season coming up. And then if you'd like to learn more about me, go to ravenmedium.com. I've got a great free introductory call. I've got other YouTube channel on Raven Mini Voices. I have all kinds of videos. I'm working with fairies and dragons and stones and all kinds of stuff. Definitely go to ravenmedium.com. I've got other things coming up. And again, holy cow, we're all busy. So no big, huge package deal this time. But again, that's why I want to do this meditation, because again, it's free. I just want to get it out there so people can start working with their shadow guides and really face their fears. It was just a joy being on today and people to talk about this, because this isn't a topic a lot of people talk about, and to be able to be with an awesome person that asks good questions. Oh my gosh, I love working with you, Louise. Thank you. This was the right platform to talk about this, because it just, again, there's so much light and love here, and we can look at it in a way where we don't have judgment, and it really just opens it up for anybody that listened to this today to walk away with what they need in their heart for right now. So thank you for having me on. Thank you, everybody, for all your great questions you asked in the chat. I was seeing it too, and it sounds like people had some really good connections with the shadow guides, and I just encourage all of you, keep going, keep working with those shadow guides, keep working with these different aspects, because it's a huge door you just open, and it's amazing what starts coming forward. You might start meeting all kinds of guides you never even considered. I can't tell you how many times I've been on shows like Louise's, and the first comment I get is, I didn't think dragons could be a spirit guide. Yes, they can. That's such a huge door opener. So today you opened another door to a plethora of amazing spirit guides that have been hungry and waiting to work with people again. So as you work with them, you're healing these old stories and this old demonizing we've done. It helps release and clear that, so these bridges of friendship and love can widen. So I just thank all of you that did the meditation today and were brave enough to face yourself, those fears, because you just did a huge healing for yourself, but for the whole forest too. If you're a tree, we're the forest all together. So thank you for healing the forest of the world today.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I'm not fearful of doing the shadow work. A lot of the shadow work is my work in the shamanic field, but also in the general energetic field. And again, like I say, we're all part of the all that is, and so we hold all these frequencies within us. We are a series of bandwidths within the incarnated form and beyond. So thank you so much, Raven, for joining us again. It's always such a joy. No matter what topic you bring forth, it's always such a pleasure and a joy to share space with you. And again, we're here to assist with spiritual evolution. We're here to shift perspective. We're here to come into wholeness and to come into a greater awareness of ourselves and the wider world, and why things happen in the outside environment and landscape. And it's often just so that we can have these awarenesses within ourselves, because whatever is happening on the outside, it's there to trigger something. It's there to bring something to the surface within us in a way we've kind of generated it as an opportunity for growth. So embrace your triggers, embrace whatever is giving you goosebumps or whatever. If you do run away, distract yourself or freeze, no worries. No biggie. We've all done it. We've all been there. We've all got a small human self. But next time you may be able or go into a meditation like this and then go back to it in a space that you feel safe to. So again, I will sort that meditation out as a separate secondary free gift under Raven's tab on the free gifts page. And on the email that goes out is Raven's contact. So if you do want to check her website out, which I highly recommend, or Raven's YouTube, or get in touch with her in any way that feels right for you. So thank you once again, Raven. So much love. Big love to you. And I hope to see you again on the show soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Thank you all for joining us live. Love to you all who joined us in the replay who couldn't come on the live call. I hope you enjoy the conversation today. We have another live call tomorrow. I'm hoping my voice will improve even more. It's another wonderful returning speaker, Maria Fells, who will be talking karmic astrology and opening up your heart, which again is it's a beautiful reflection of kind of the work that we've been doing today as well. So it's all just working out wonderfully, this summit. I love it. Right, take care, everybody. And I shall see you all again soon. And yes, happy Halloween. Have a wonderful time, whatever you decide to do, whether it's privately sharing space with your ancestors and loved ones, or going out and partying like you've never partied before.
Awesome.
Take care, everybody. Bye.